Hello there. This is Anthony, your book talk host. And today we are honored. We have with us one great guest. As always at Book Talk, we have one person who comes and tells us about his book or her book. And today being a special day, we have someone who has got a lot of experience in what he's about to talk to us and has a great book with a great topic. I like the topic. It's called Someday is Today. And the guest is known as Ron Richard. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Yeah, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're at.
Oh, yeah.
Around the world.
Yeah, sure. Everyone could be watching from somewhere that we don't know. Could be a different time zone from the one that we have. For example, we are on different time zones, me and you.
Yes, I'm in California, and so it's around 8:30 in the morning here.
Yes, and where I am is Greece. It's 6:36 p.m. That's in the evening.
So yeah, and I'm sure you have listeners in many other countries and other time zones, and I appreciate your invite today to talk about my new book, Someday is Today.
Oh yeah, that's good. And first and foremost, before we get going, I'd like to let the viewer know a bit about Ron. Ron is a seasoned expert specializing in the medical device, medical diagnostic, and life science market segments. Over 35 years of experience in the medical industry with extensive knowledge and experience in respiratory, pulmonary, and sleep medicine. He is a recipient of several industry-based awards, has launched over 40 plus products, and has 17 patents under his belt in his 25 years and over of being in the game, both nationally, that's in the US, and internationally. And so when I said we have a special guest, that's what exactly what I meant. And yes, we are glad to have you in our show.
Yeah, thank you again. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the kind words and accolades.
Yeah, please tell us a bit more about yourself, because basically we just talked specifically on your profession and career, but there's much more to you than what we just see here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you mentioned, I've been in the healthcare industry for many years. I started out my healthcare career working in a teaching hospital in Kansas, in the Midwest. I'm a respiratory therapist and a paramedic, and I worked in a hospital for 7 or 8 years, taking care of people that were on ventilators and that were on oxygen and very sick. And that's actually where I had my experience to have my first invention. When patients are put on ventilators, they lose their ability to speak because they have a tube that's put down their throat or their nose to attach them to a ventilator.
Yeah.
And they get very frustrated because they can't get simple, basic things like a drink of water or to talk to their family, or they're in pain somewhere. So I developed a communication board. After interviewing hundreds of patients, what were the most important things that they wanted when they were on a ventilator. And I ended up selling around 150,000 of those after it got commercialized. So that was my first experience being an inventor, was seeing a need from the patient side and then creating that product, which was pretty simple to make. It took a few months to get all the data collected and interview patients and talk with them to get the right things put on it. But after it was done, patients and the clinicians really thought that was a wonderful invention.
Wonderful. And now you're talking about inventions, and mostly what we know of is that, because when we go to school, we are told we have inventors like Thomas Edison, we have other inventors that Isaac Newton and people like that. So even up to this day, there are still things being invented somewhere in the world.
Exactly. You know, I'll hold up a copy of my book. This is Someday is Today. And you can find this on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble. But Someday is Today was created, and I developed the book after I did a guest lecture at Stanford University in California
Okay.
to a group of doctors. And it was kind of interesting because doctors typically have great ideas, great inventions. And the subtitle of my book, which I actually took a quote from one of the doctors, was, "I have a lot of great ideas, but they just get stuck in my coffee cup." I'm sitting there thinking about all these wonderful things, but all I can do is, I can't get them out of my cup into the market. So that was the reason I wrote the book. The book actually takes you through what I call from the concept of your idea to commercialization. So it's beginning to end. And every chapter in the book covers all the key important steps of getting an idea out of your coffee cup and getting your idea onto the market, getting it patented, getting the FDA approval, getting funding from investors, getting your team set up with the right marketing and sales and all the different elements. So I actually, started working on this book right around March of last year when COVID hit. And I started thinking about, how our lives have been changed by COVID so much. And I still think today, even more than ever, new inventions in innovation has a big part of where we're going in healthcare.
Oh, okay. And yes, because I want to imagine, because we are having some new experiences, new things coming in, epidemics that we have not heard of before. Then as much as we are discovering or we are experiencing diseases in a magnitude that we've not experienced them before, then it is necessary and important that we have new invention of how to counteract those ones or deal with them. So yeah, I see that. I get
it. Another element in the book, Anthony, talks about for every invention and everybody that starts a new company based on their inventions, you create hundreds of new jobs. So another part or chapter in my book talks about job creation and the satisfaction I have gotten over the years from owning and running my own businesses and companies. I've owned 8 different companies.
Okay.
And over time, built those up and sold them. But in the interim, you get to meet a lot of really interesting people in engineering and marketing, sales, all different aspects of companies, and provide them with jobs. In turn, they get to make an income and support their family. So that's the other benefit of being an inventor.
Oh yeah, sure. Because when I invent something, I don't imagine that I invent it for only myself. I shouldn't be inventing it for the general public. And for that dream to become a reality, it's gonna need more than one person to make it grow and become a big business.
Yeah, that's another chapter in the book. I told you earlier when we were talking, I used to be a semi-pro soccer player in Kansas City, and I got to meet a lot of different people from around the world playing soccer from Africa, which you told me you're from Kenya, and I played with people from Nigeria and Cameroon and all over Africa, Ghana. And it's amazing to, how soccer can kind of bring people together, from all over the world. And you may speak different languages, but soccer is a language that everybody, when they get together, it's like music. You can talk to each other somehow. The same thing it is with inventions with the medical field. People that are in medicine, they learn medicine. There's certain, obviously, practices and guidelines you have to follow when you're doing medicine. And the same thing applies to when you're inventing. Yeah. And when you're inventing products, like you just said, you invent them not just for people where you're living, but for people all over the world. Because that's really the beauty of this is your invention can effectively, if it's distributed properly, it could be, a global product within a year to 2 years, and millions of patients could benefit from it.
Tell us a bit more about some of the other things that you've invented, please. 1 or 2 others.
Yeah, so I've got 17 patents, and I've launched, like you said, over 45 products with sales of over $1.5 billion. And most of the products, Anthony, that I've worked on, they are in the area of respiratory. So it's people that have breathing diseases like chronic lung diseases. Most recently, I'm getting ready to launch a new product that specifically treats COVID.
Mhm.
respiratory issues. But the other part of it I've done a lot of research and clinical trials and developed products to help people that have sleep apnea. And this is a condition where you stop breathing hundreds of times during the night and you're
Okay.
suffocating. And so I've developed like masks and machines that create airflow into the upper airway to keep the airway open, and it prevents people from having sleep apnea. So those are the two main areas that I've worked on. And then there's been some other retail products that I've developed in the electronics world and also in the consumer kind of retail sector for wine pourers and oxygenators and things like that. So, but it's been primarily in respiratory and sleep.
Oh, okay. And for someone out there who may not understand the patent thing, what is a patent in a layman's language?
So there's a couple steps, and in my book, there's a chapter that extensively covers all the phases and steps you go through and the cost and expense to file for a patent.
Okay.
So when you first file for a patent here in the United States, you do what's called a patent search, and you try to find out, are there any other products or any other patents that have already been filed that are on record that conflict with your patent. And a really important part of this is you don't want to move forward with a product if somebody already has a patent on it, because you likely will get sued.
Yeah.
Or you'll end up in court and you'll have spent a lot of time and money developing a product that somebody already has a patent on. And I give a couple examples in the book where I've worked with companies that's actually happened to them. So the first step is do the patent search. The second is if it comes up clean and it's a green light, you're ready to move forward, you file the patent, and then it's under what's called patent pending status.
Okay.
And that typically lasts, depending on the backlog of patents that have been filed with the USPTO. It could take 12 to 18 months to get a decision. Then the decision would be you're granted patent pending. And then what you need to do is go to the next step, which is file for a full patent. But once you have that, and a full patent may take, I've seen some of them take as long as 3+ years. So you got to be patient. But once you get patent pending, that means you've got the ability to move forward with your project, get funding from investors, start talking about the product more openly because you've got the patent pending in place.
Okay.
And then you're moving into a full patent status. So once you have your patent granted, that's really valuable. And you usually want to post that on your website. You want to, expose the public to the patent numbers. And, you want to use that in your investor, if you're raising money, use that with your investors because they view that as intellectual property that is part of their investment. Okay. And so that's kind of the steps that you go through. And then maybe the last one would be you can actually file for global patent status. So for instance, I've got patents that are granted to me in the United States, but I've also filed for patents that have been granted in Europe, in Asia, and different parts of the world. So you can do specific countries or you can do a whole continent. Okay.
And if I may ask, because you talk of patent and we are aware of trademarking, which I think is somehow related, but you can explain to us a bit much between patenting and trademarking your product.
Yeah, patenting is patenting a concept or a use of a product. The trademark is actually more so involved with marketing, marketing of the product. So you see a trademark, usually they have an R by it, which means it's a registered trademark. Yeah. So Coca-Cola is a trademark name for a product. So let's say, for instance, I have a medical product that's like I talked about earlier, CPAP machine to treat sleep apnea. The registered trademark might be Easy Breather, registered trademark. So that's the branding and the marketing part of it. That's why you do registered trademarks, because you want to market your product globally as Easy Breather machine. And to file a trademark, it's similar to filing a patent. You fill out a fairly simple document paperwork wise. It doesn't cost very much. you give them the marketing materials that you're using to promote the trademarked registered name. And then they do a search just like a patent, and they see, well, is anybody else using Easy Breather right now in the world? And if it comes up clean with a green light, you get the registered trademark for Easy Breather.
Okay. And yeah, I think that's something that we could want to go deep another day, but just a bit about it. What protects you much, the patent or the trademark, or are there different areas that they protect you from? Or yeah.
The trademark's going to protect you when you go to market and you're actually selling a product.
Okay.
The way it protects you, it doesn't allow someone, I'll give you the example again, Easy Breather. Maybe somebody tries to trademark Easy Breeze, Easy Breathe without the breather. And so what the trademark does is it disallows somebody to confuse the market to think they're buying Easy Breather, but instead it's somebody else. It's just somewhat copying your name and using it in a different variation. So what the trademark does, it actually prevents the confusion in the market from a consumer buying a product and buying what they think is the actual product versus maybe a knockoff or a copy of it. The patents, however, protect you. Let's say Easy Breather has certain unique features to it that you've patented. It disallows people from copying those features and putting in into their machine.
I think that's quite clear. Yeah, it's quite clear for us now.
Okay.
Yeah, and going back to the title of the book, Someday is Today. Why that? Why is the title? Why the title?
Well, it kind of goes back to the COVID thing where people, when I was talking to people about it, well, I'll just wait till COVID's over and then I'll work on my invention, or, I'll wait till, things kind of, the air settles or the dust settles, then I'll start working on my new patent or my new invention. And I encourage people that once you get an idea and you're passionate about it, I use this saying or this term called, if you see a need, plant a seed. And what that means is if you see a need as a doctor or a clinician, that patients would benefit from something you're working on that will help improve the quality of their life, you plant that seed and then you nurture it, you water it, you take care of it, because that's your invention. That's going to be your new company. And if you take care of it, you could grow from that little idea, from that seed into a huge company like Apple or Microsoft.
So if you see a need, plant a seed. That's a good one. If you see a need, plant a seed. I'm going to be doing that. And that's today, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't use any excuses.
Yeah, take action today. Start working on your patents and your ideas and your inventions today. Don't keep them in your coffee cup.
And let me ask a question. Does your book tell us about ways to go about it that makes sure that I don't keep it for tomorrow? Like some exercises, some secrets of how not to procrastinate for tomorrow, things of that nature?
Well, yeah, we're kind of creatures of habit. A lot of people do put off things, particularly if they're anxious or they don't understand what are the next steps.
Yeah.
If there's fear, if there's uncertainty, a lot of people are in the medical industry, they're afraid to fail. Because in medicine, to fail means, oh, I did harm maybe to my patient, or I failed an experiment, or I failed a test or a diagnostic thing or whatever. So there's a lot of pressure on clinicians to get everything perfect and get it right. So inventions are not perfect. You got to try and try. Like you said, you mentioned Thomas Edison. There was I read a book about him, and I think he created 900 and some light bulbs before he got one that actually worked. Yeah. And he didn't stop. He didn't keep, it didn't keep him from trying to make the next one. And I hope that, people that get an idea for an invention, they don't give up after the first try. It may take several tries. I've had some products that I've made, for instance, it took me 15 or 20 prototypes before I actually got it to work the way, we needed it to work or wanted it to work. So going back to what you were saying, I always say, make a simple list, kind of draft out your idea on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be really elaborate. And,
Yeah.
go through it, go through the concept, challenge yourself that, am I creating a solution for a problem? What is the problem? And does my solution actually work better than what's already on the market? And if you can answer those questions, yes, 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 then take the next steps.
Yeah, because someone said that actually, when you mentioned about the problem, someone mentioned that your breakthrough is hidden in another person's problem. And
Yeah, that goes back to, if you see a need, plant a seed.
plant a seed.
In my example I gave you earlier about that communication board, I saw a problem and I created a solution, which was simple, effective, didn't cost a lot of money. But I always start in the book that I just wrote, I always start with, if you see a problem and you have a better solution for it, that's your next invention.
So I guess it's a high time that we stop looking around and asking, what is it? What's in it for me? But start asking, what's missing in it that I can feel?
Exactly. Look beyond yourself and the money and the monetary part of it. It's what can I give back? A lot of clinicians I know, they went to medical school or they went to nursing school or respiratory therapy school, not because of the money. They went there because they have a big heart and they want to help people feel better, get better, and help them with their physical problems. And so right there, you have that innate quality inside of a person that sees beyond themselves. They want to be helpful. They have more of an outbound kind of a life than, something internal. So if you do the right things, the money will follow. And that's another chapter in my book. If you're doing the right things to help patients and your product really works, the money will flow in.
That's good. And in there, you've talked about something, or you've given us an insight of, but that's something that I imagine one of the reasons that people fail is because they lack persistence, because when you talk about 900 and something trials before you succeed, that's quite, that's a challenge that many people are not willing to face. And many people fail because they have failed to keep on trying, keep on attempting. And what other things do you think could be contributing to some of the failures? I mean, like, people don't invent, people have an idea, they don't bring it into reality, they don't fulfill their dreams, the dreams that they have. What could be other factors that contribute to that?
Oh gosh, it's a myriad of things, that probably contribute to failure and success. In part, early on, what I encourage people to do in the book is to create and develop at least the basic simple concept of what they want to invent. And, for instance, now we're really fortunate in this world to have 3D rapid modeling that you can put a design into a machine and it can make a plastic part for you to try something within a few hours.
Yeah.
Many years ago, it would take weeks to replicate a prototype and get it, to where it was functional. Now today, in fact, one of the labs I'm working in, we've bought some really nice new high-speed rapid prototyping devices that are just phenomenal. And I can make a part just from a simple drawing within a few hours. So once you get your prototype working, then it's, again, going back to what is the problem I'm trying to solve, and then try to get the prototype to function in a way that gives you a fairly sensitive and specific results to where you can document, okay, I did this and this was the result that I achieved from it. So that you can always kind of track all the progress you're making. And if you run up against a problem, or it starts to, there's aberrations in the algorithm or the software or the mechanics of it, you can kind of pinpoint and focus on, how do I fix that before I go to the next step?
Yeah. And so documenting, to people who don't document, they are subject to fail. That's what I get from that. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
You know, in my book too, Anthony, what I talk about, that's part of your forming a team. There are some things inventors are really good at. You know, they can use one side of their brain, but not the other. So if they're not really good at documenting or analyzing things,
Mhm.
get a consultant or hire an engineer or somebody that's really good at what you're not good at, and that complements the whole team if you
Yeah.
put the right people together.
Yeah, so this calls for you putting a team that is effective together. And with putting a team together, it also takes, I mean, it's not only the team. There are a lot of things that are incorporated into you inventing a thing and making it a success out there into the world. And putting the team together is one of the most important things for you to make it a success.
Mhm.
Eh,
Right.
mhm. So how big of a team do you have in, like, for example, yourself, how big of a team have you been using over the years that has made your, in every step of it, that has made it success?
Yeah, well, the key elements for a team, at least in the medical industry, is there's two types of engineers, mechanical and electrical.
Yeah.
And the third would be software, if you're going to be dealing with anything that has to have software to make it operate or to run. The other thing is graphic design would be important when you're doing brochures, a website, you know, building out the marketing side. And then to implement the sales, you have to have skilled salespeople that
Yeah.
understand the channel, who to call on, you know, how to best present and market the product. Pricing is another big part of it. But when you're early on in the phase of what I call developing the company, the key people are going to be, you know, and you can either hire them as full-time or part-time. You can give them stock in exchange for a salary. There's lots of different ways you can work this if you're, you know, strapped for cash initially.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done them all, and I've worked with teams as small as like 5 people up
Yeah.
to as many as 50 to 60 people on a team for a project. So it just depends on, you know, to what extent and how complex the device is going to be. But anyway, early on, you want to make sure you have, you know, good engineering talent. You've got good documentation. And if you're going to be working with the FDA, you've got to have people that understand, you know, what it takes to get a product ready to file and submit to the FDA. Because if you can't get 510K or, you know, FDA approval in this country, you really can't commercialize a product. You know, it's just stuck. So that's a super critical element when you're working with medical devices, is make sure you're working within the guidelines and the standards that the FDA puts out there.
Oh, okay. And the way you've put it, I understand that you're basically dealing with the medical staff, but the factors and the ideas that you have given us there are applicable in us inventing any other thing out there, I guess.
Yeah, I've worked with other companies that are they're totally outside of the medical industry, but a lot of the things in my book are applicable, except for the FDA. They'd be applicable to anybody that's starting up a new company or trying to invent almost any kind of product.
Ah, that's good. And how big is your book, if I may ask?
It's around 170 pages. So it's a fairly quick read. And I've meant it to be fairly easy to understand. And another thing I did is I have probably 20 other experts that have contributed to my book that are people that I've worked with over the last 35 years that are experts in FDA, they're experts in patent filings, they're experts in engineering. And they have all been so kind to me to contribute to my book. So it's just not me. It's a bunch of other. It's a compilation of a lot of different experts. It's probably, you know, if you took all the years of experience of the people that are contributing to my book, it would be 300 plus years.
And I want to imagine that it has many references. As you give us the names of those people who are contributing, they tell us a solution to a problem we may be imagining. There's a reference. Go and get it here.
Yeah, there's their emails in there, and their companies that they work for. So all the contact information and anybody that contributed to the book I acknowledge them and how you can get in touch with them or contact them if you want to have them do consulting work with you.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. So if someone out there is imagining of inventing something, remember someday is today. Don't think of tomorrow. And remember that you have a guide so that can show you how to go about everything from the idea, the coffee cup into a reality, a dream come true that is going to serve the world out there. So let's not wait for another day. Let's go for today and make it happen. Let's make it happen. So we are really honored to have you here in our show this day, Ron. And
thank you.
Before you go, we would like you to give us a parting shot, something that you'd like us to remember you with, even when we are through with this interview.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll share just a real quick story. I was 3 weeks ago playing golf with my son up in Lake Tahoe, and I had a heart attack. And I almost died. And so lucky for me, I was with my son and he helped get me to the hospital and they put a stent in my heart. And I'm thankful to God I'm still alive today to keep on inventing.
Oh, yes, we need you to keep us going on.
Yeah,
And actually,
so I'm very fortunate.
Yes, and we all need one another. And we are just about to come to the end of this show, but we'd like to know how to get the book, how to contact with Ron, how to get all those ideas that Ron is giving. Tell us how to contact you.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So again, the book's available on Amazon and it's available on Barnes and Noble. Someday is today.
Yeah.
My name again is Ron F. Richard, and my website is inventingstartstoday.com. That's inventingstartstoday.com.
Oh, that's wonderful. Inventingstartstoday.com.
Yeah.
Oh.
And again, thank you. It's so nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you too. So it's been quite a great honor and we really appreciate this day, that someday is today. And thank you very much for reminding us that yes, we still can continue to invent. Thank you.
Yeah,
and,
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.